after finding out about Elentier all the way back in, I'm going to count chapter 66 because before that it was just kind of Elentier's name dropped. But with Mystigun, we found out exactly what it was. You know, this transcendent magic world separate than Earthland and Edelus. But we got like the information on it, and shortly after, we ended up getting the characters to Elentier. You know, as well as chapter 68. So we've actually been in Elentier in the story for more than 10 chapters. And we still haven't actually really seen much of the transcendent magic from the main cast outside of Lucy, and I don't think Lucy's is even fully performed yet. I don't really see that, like, her being just having the, you know, advanced summoning with her keys being able to summon themselves, not needing her keys, and being able just to mass summon. I still have my own theories about what she can do, similar to, like, if she can summon the Celestial Spirit King. Since he doesn't have a key, she doesn't need a key at the time. But, you know, that's something that I talked about for another video, and something we'll have to wait and see if they come out later. But I want to do just some videos talking about the transcendent magic possibilities of the other characters. And since Gray is the only, like, he, out of the main cast, rather, is the only one that hasn't had much of, like, fight upgrades. He hasn't gotten any new forms or abilities in 100 Years Quest. Like, and the closest he's really got was the fight against Freed, Big Slow, and Evergreen, where he used more of the demon side of, you know, of his devil slaying magic. And that's relatively, you know, for now, we're still waiting on Gray. But when it comes to his, I can see his transcendent magic really being improved in 3 primary areas, because Gray, his magic is more flexible than anything, but at the same time, like, he has to gain new traits to it. But I think that the basic 3 things that could really are going to come down to are, 1, the AoE, like the mass just kind of size of, like, his ice makes and his devil slaying abilities and whatnot. You know, similar to what we saw, like, Ice Make Silver when he used that against Agil, just this big AoE flash freeze. We could probably get something like that, but just, you know, much larger scale. But also with his temperature, the temperature of his ice and, like, the cold is one of the more interesting things, I think, out of him. The other thing would be, like, advancing his Devil Slayer form, because we've gotten, like, the, you know, the whole, like, black marks encroaching up his body and stuff, but we don't have anything to the full effect of, say, Dragon Force, where the Dragon Slayers start to become more dragon-like. You know, it starts out with scales, similar to how, like, you know, Gray's got the black markings going over his body, but eventually, you know, they get stuff like, you know, they eventually become more dragon-like, get stuff like horns and whatnot. So I'm really hoping that we can get that with Gray. Maybe see something like, you know, I've been mentioning it for a while. I haven't talked about it in a long time, but get some sick ice horns. Like, I just imagine some, like, really cool curved horn with icicles kind of dangling down on it, kind of just spiking on the bottom. That would be really sick. Stuff like that. Maybe give him a claw or something. I like. You can give, like, a whole myriad of things. You can go simple again with a horn, or, you know, maybe add something else. Do something with the eyes, because, like, I remember when we first got Gray with his devil slaying ability, he looked at Tempesta, and he had, like, something on his eyes, and then he just knew, like, he was who they were looking for, because he had to find out the stuff for Laxus. They had to get some of his blood so they can build an antibody to help save him. And then the third thing I think would be, you know, the most interesting is, again, the temperature. The temperature of Gray's cold and his ice that's like the most basic and yet most useful thing in upgrade. It'd be like with Natsu, you know, Natsu upgraded, regardless of all the other things he could get, the temperature of his flames, like the heat of his flames, is going to rise with it. Similar to, like, what should Gray do? Get colder ice. Now, Gray shouldn't just get, like, oh, his ice gets colder, because he actually has some pretty impressive, like, temperature feats. Like, I know freezing blood, I don't remember exactly how cold it's supposed to be, isn't it? I think it's like -50. I'll put it on the screen or something, like -50 degrees. And then him freezing Tempesta's tornadoes, like freezing wind and air. From one point I looked it up, it was supposed to be like -270 degrees Fahrenheit or something ridiculous. So he's that, like, when you look at that, he's not that far off from like absolute zero, which I believe absolute zero is like negative 314 degrees. Again, like when it comes to specific numbers, I'll put them on the screen. You know, I'm probably off by chunks, but you know, that's not the important part of me knowing them off the top of my head. But Gray having the ability to get that cold, because the thing about absolute zero isn't just like it's, you know, super cold. It has its own kind of theoretical abilities to come along with it, like stuff like stopping time, because of the whole thing of like you're stopping energy entirely. But also, you can take into account Gray having copied Invil's ice back in Alvarez, because there's a couple of things about that to be, you know, really interesting from you know, the standpoint of what Gray can have, such as when he got hit by the True Ice Conway, it didn't matter if Gray had his general resistance to cold or his Devil Slayer resistance and kind of just abilities towards the cold, because it takes a lot to you know, to affect a Slayer with the same attribute they have, unless you're just outright way more powerful than them. But we know that Invil wasn't really that much stronger than Gray, and especially that Gray at the time when, you know, he had the rage boost going on, he was like putting the hands on him. But Gray getting that, if he can have something that, like, as said, it just pretty much voids durability. It just goes right through resistances and durability and starts freezing you. Like, you even have Invil say, like, it doesn't really matter what, you know, what you do if it touches you. And then other than that, the thing that I think actually could be really, really useful, but also relevant to what's going on right now, is Gray has to overcome Hokune. Hokune's ice is really busted in the fact that, you know, it just gets on you. No magic, no curses, no spiritual arts. You're just, no, you don't get to do anything in response. He could gain an ice that can kind of like freeze more than just, you know, general ice feats. Again, if he's getting to absolute zero or something along those lines, or, you know, in the case of True Ice Conway, he's just ignoring durability and whatnot. But how Invil had the ice lock that freezes thoughts. Like, if Gray could do stuff like that, like ice that messes with your mind, messes with more than, again, like what the general way that ice works. You're not freezing, like, you know, the person, you're freezing the way they think. You're not literally freezing their brain and then their brain is frozen so they die. You're freezing their ability to think and to act of their own free will. So stuff like that, which would just be kind of busted, would really fit with Gray's moveset. It would go with, like, again, like a high level of power progression that he should have with his Transcendent magic, and it would, a lot of these would align up with his already growing moveset and then stuff that I had before. Like I said, like just straight large AoE, just bigger, more powerful general attacks, way colder, kind of crazier aspects of his ice, and then upgraded Devil Slaying form. That's one of the big things for me as well, just because it's like, Gray has had his Devil Slaying form for really actually like a good chunk of time in the story, because like we had 80 chapters on Hero's Quest. We had the Dragon Cry movie. We had like 140 pretty much chapters since Gray got his well, even since before that, because Gray got it like right after his fight with his dad. So even more than that, but just like a large portion of the story, Gray has actually had his Devil Slay abilities. And if you include 100 Years Quest and just kind of stack it onto the 545 chapters of the main series, and not even about any other spin-offs, but like that means that Gray has really had his, you know, Devil Slaying for more than a third, like, you know, a good more than a third of the series. So with like Natsu stuff progressing, like we haven't gotten entirely to like him being able to like fully go like Dragon-like and Dragon Force, but we have seen progression and advancement of his scales from just like where we're on the eyes initially, you know, just spreading out and now going on his forearms and stuff. So something like that for Gray, if we can just get like a horn, I don't even need like a physical horn. If he can literally just get an icicle sticking out of his forehead, that's a win for me. But anyway, other than that though, comment below, tell me your thoughts about this and like what you really think would be like the best thing for Gray. I just think in general, like these would be easy things, but on top of it, it would really go along with events in the story that Gray has experienced and that would fit into his character, especially True Ice Conway, like broken stuff that Invil had with his cold magic. So if Gray can get that and stack it on the Devil Slaying, that'd be sick. Especially if he can do what I would really hope, and Gray to do less swordsmanship and go back to archery. Because it's cool that, you know, obviously with Ice Make and the way that he does his stuff, like, he can pretty much do any type of weaponry in his moveset, but swordsmanship is obviously more for Urza's thing, whereas like I've always personally liked Gray's archery more than his sword abilities. I think his sick ice arrows would be like the coolest thing for his moveset if he could do like True Ice Comway arrowheads. So he's just sniping somebody with void durability, freaking ice arrows that just smack you, maybe in the like extend out, like explode, kind of like his Super Freeze arrows did. But then you have like the chilling for like super cold air just streaming off of it. That'd be super sick. But anyway, other than that, comment below. Thumbs up the video, before the like button, subscribe button, and tell me what you would like to see for Gray's Transcendent Magic and what you would like to see for him coming up. But other than that, thanks everyone who's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.